Greetings, fellow scribes! Welcome back to the archive. This video is part of my series on the individual tribes of Werewolf the Apocalypse. I will be going into each tribe covering the same basic details, their history and mythology, their biases, strengths, weaknesses, and a bit of information about their camps, their sub-organizations within the tribes. Now, this is going to be a bit of a boilerplate for all of these, so I don't have to redo a video every single one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we talk about this tribe. The Glasswalkers were once called the Warders of Man. They started off as a group of Garou who became enamored of humanity. One story says that they were actually a pack of silver fangs that was sent to monitor humans and saw stuff and learned from humans. Another just says that they started watching humans and seeing all the neat things humans made because they were driven into hiding during the Impersium and the Wars of Rage. Which of these stories is true? They don't even really know. But that's not really what the Glasswalkers were now. The Glasswalkers very much are still a tribe of humanity. And during the Old West, they called themselves the Iron Riders because they worked with the trains. They traveled the trains across the Old West. And, it's funny. When they were Warders of Man, their glyph was a house with a Gaian symbol in it. When they became the Rail Riders, it was this thing of crossed rail tracks with the Gaian glyph. And now it is said that the glyph is a skyscraper with the Gaian glyph at the foundation of it. The glyph has mostly been the same. It's just the meaning of it changes with the generations of the Glasswalkers. Which is interesting. You see, the other tribes accuse the Glasswalkers of being in league with the Weaver, of being too close to the Weaver, of risking an imminent fall to the Weaver, and treat them distrustfully. But if they truly were of the Weaver, or close to the Weaver, they would be a more static tribe. And they are not. Not by a long shot. They have various camps, like all the tribes, that rise and fall. And when these camps rise and fall within the tribe, it changes the tribe on some level. Like in the 20th century, the longest dominant camp was the Wise Guys. Basically the mafia as werewolves. They used organized crime to fight the worm. Because, protection rackets, they could find out information through people on that. financing the tribe, and just in general using crime, using the violence of crime to attack the worm or to drive others away from where the worm was starting to dwell. Then the corporate wolves rose to dominance. This camp was a camp that focused on corporation use. Oh, we want to deal with these Fomori and werewolves in the sewers? These Fomori and vampires in the sewers? Let's create a contracting company that focuses on sewer work. And then we can shift things so that they're not welcome there. Oh, this company's got all these assets in toxic waste dumping. Well, let's create a corporation that focuses on recovery of land. But at the same time, they could do things like bankrupt or at least financially hinder corporations that were dealing with the worm or furthering the worm's agendas. And in fact, the corporate wolves were probably the biggest thing for stifling Pentex, an entirely worm-run mega corporation. And I do mean a mega corporation. It has so many shell corps and subsidiaries under it. No one really knows what all leads back to Pentex. But that's really what the corporate wolves fought. Bidding contracts against Pentex subsidiaries to get those jobs, get those contracts, keep them out of Pentex's hands. Financially undermining subsidiaries. That's how they fought the worm. Well, that and, of course, corporate espionage, corporate sabotage, that sort of thing. They actually started calling it monkey wrenching. And that term spread to the rest of the Garou Nation from the Glasswalkers. The current dominant tribe in the Glasswalkers is called the Random Interrupts. They are a camp that focuses on techno-shamanism. And they use it for hacking, information gathering, data analysis, pattern analysis. In fact, they're responsible for creating a sub-internet just for the Glasswalkers called GWNet. So that's an interesting little bit with them. But that's the thing. You'll see the Glasswalkers, these different tribes, these different camps within the tribe have risen and fallen. The wise guys are now considered almost on their way out as a camp. They don't have any leadership anymore. And the people in are still just the old school hangers-on. The corporate wolves are still around. Because, corporate warfare is still a thing. But of course, this is just how the Glasswalkers do things. They adapt, they improvise, they change with the times. So the whole idea that they're in league with the Weaver doesn't quite work. Yes, they use Weaver spirits. They use net spiders. They use pattern spiders. They use tech gadgets. It is perfectly expected that you could run into a glasswalker who has a powerful fetish and a laptop. They will use things like a level they created for a game as their sacrifice to spirits for shimonage, for paying the spirit to do something for them. And that is, again, they approach things differently. They actually approach things very differently. Back in the auspice video, I told you the actual rules of all the auspices. The roles for the glasswalkers tend to end up a little different in how they're implemented. I mean, of course, Ragabash are still tricksters and all that. Ragabash are generally assumed to be the fun-loving, pranky hackers. The Theurges, though, are considered the war leaders of the sept, of the tribe, because they interact with spirits. And the glasswalkers, despite what one might think, actually use spirits a lot more than other tribes. Than most other tribes, anyway. They use spirit comms to communicate. Spirits to get information. And, just way more integrated use of spirits. They love their fetishes. And by fetishes, I mean items with spirits bound into them. Because for them, these are tools. And glasswalkers are tool makers. And that's, again, what they do. Glasswalkers will frequently have multiple fetishes or talons on them. And this is why the Theurges are their war leaders. Philodox tend to be the people who judge between everything. And so they end up very much being the de facto people in charge in most instances, just because the mediation that's needed for a tribe of individualists with strong personalities is just necessary to lead a pack or lead a sept. Of course, Galliards are still the storytellers and history keepers. And Arun are still warriors. Just not necessarily in the me, Arun, me smash and slash things. No, Arun are hackers. They're the destructive hackers, the ones who will plant a virus that burns everything in the system. They're corporate raiders. They're stock market raiders. They're, yes, they are warriors, but they have learned that war is not necessarily violence. And thus, their approaches to the worm tend to focus on destroying its assets. Whether that be being a reporter who finds out stuff and writes a well-worded smear piece on a politician, or a corporate raider who buys out a small subsidiary of Pentex and turns it into actually making little daisies, or whether it be someone who just plants a data bomb into a bank's computers to eliminate all the funds of a company. The Arun of the Glasswalkers are a lot less physical than the Arun of other tribes. And then we come to one of the other interesting contradictions within the Glasswalkers. The Glasswalkers are, as a tribe, very egalitarian. Everyone has a chance. Everyone has the right to do what they say, do what they want to try, and see if it works. And yet, they have menace among them. And again, they look at it from the practical perspective of the reason for the ban against Garou mating with Garou is because of maternal mortality. It's bad because of that, because of the risk of losing a Garou. But we're not going to really hold it against the kids. We're not going to kill the parents either. But the Metis, after their first change, they are treated as if they are equal to anyone else. And in fact, Metis and the very few Lupus tend to get affirmative action placements in positions within the Sept, including a position called the Gatekeeper, which is one that it's a position that deals with spirits, and putting a Metis or Lupus, they have a stronger connection with Gaia than humans. And so, putting a Metis or Lupus, and there are more Metis than Lupus in the Glasswalkers, into this position makes sense. And if they're not the best person, well, because of their breed, they have a stronger connection to Gaia than a human. And therefore, it's easier to justify that to any Hamid Garou who go, hey, wait, that person wasn't the best. Why did they get that position? But before the first change, Metis are kept locked up. I mean, they probably do have interaction with others, and of course they do learn a lot about Garou society, but because they are a breach of the veil, and because Glasswalkers live in the cities, because Glasswalker cairns are typically in high rises, they have to keep the Metis hidden away before they can change shapes. And so they don't really get much social interaction, or even, well, much interaction in general with other people. And so this ends up this ends up messing with them to some degree. Many Metis end up being introverts, for example, because they can't deal with the large groups of people because they've never dealt with that before. So it's sort of a... Before the first change, even a Fianna would probably envy a Fianna Metis. And you know what I described as bad for them. And so, after the first change, they're every bit the equal of any other Garou. So it's that sort of tough dichotomy there. The Glasswalkers really are very much a tribe of contradictions. You know, they love technology, which is generally seen as being of the Weaver. But at the same time, they're truly loyal to Gaia. They're not loyal to the Weaver. They change, they adjust. And that's really what it comes down to with the Glasswalkers. That they're a tribe that is contradictions. That's really all you can truly say about them. But that is all for this video. Join me for my regularly scheduled video, or the next video in the series will be on the Bone Gnars. So, until then, I will see you next time, and until then, just remember, have fun and keep gaming.